hentai from legitimate spots.
Listen, all you have to do is not...
Wait, there's a legitimate way to get hentai? Okay, hey everybody.
Hentai Haven shut down, so don't bring that shit up.
Hey everybody, this... fucking, how's that gonna work? Okay. I'm putting this here. Hey everybody, welcome to Make Anime Great Again, a retrospective on trends in anime quality, where we talk about how anime used to be really good and now it's fucking garbage, which makes sense because you're all here. I'm Max, that's Sam, this is, what do you want to go by? He's not Colton, that's his official name. Legally changed it and everything. So, before we talk about the modern state of anime, we should probably go over the history of anime, which means we have to go back in time to where it all started, which is, of course, America. And I'm going to empirically prove that anime originated in America. Now, most of you are going to say the first anime was Astro Boy by Osamu Tezuka, and you're all fucking wrong. This is because Osamu Tezuka attributed a lot of his creative process to Carl Barks, the creator of the Scrooge McDuck comics, which therefore means that Astro Boy takes place in the Scrooge McDuck cinematic universe. And therefore, Astro Boy is just derivative schlock. Now, I know what you're saying. Scrooge McDuck wasn't an animated series, it's a comic, so it's the first manga. Smart ass. I'm like, oh, fine, if we're going to play at that game. We'll define an anime by the first animated series serialized, which in that case is also not Astro Boy. It's Crusader Rabbit. This is a series that came out in the early 40s. It is real. And it was just a play on radio programs at the time because that's what passed for satire, was making fun of radio dramas. And Crusader Rabbit also, of course, draws a lot of its inspiration from the Crusades. Because, I mean... it's in the name. You see the name, right? Yeah, we got it. Cool. Draws its inspiration from the Crusades. Little known fact about the Crusades, the first emperor of Byzantium was Scrooge McDuck. We went full circle here, which means that Scrooge McDuck invented the Byzantium Empire, which invented the Crusades, which invented Crusader Rabbit. So all of those are anime, because again, Scrooge McDuck is the first anime. So in that case, Astro Boy is just, another spin-off of anime, but instead of waging a jihad, it's just, I don't know, a little robot fighting shit.
Now, from the 1960s to the 1990s, you really start to see a decline in American animation, which really started at a peak.
Oh, fine, we forgot something. Fuck it, go.
Move on, it doesn't matter anymore. And really the improvement of Japanese anime, which really went from objective garbage to utter beauty. Now, it's important to remember that 1970s America was just getting over being the only real superpower. It had plenty of economic growth, social mobility, and free time, so they invested most of their resources into the pinnacle of art that really hasn't been surpassed since, Super Friends. Now, by comparison, Japan was having quite a difficult time with Lupin III, which, I mean, honestly, if you look at the comparison, you see fluidity of motion, diversity of expressions, just active action with Super Friends, and honest to God, with Lupin III, I think they're just fucking stick figures. Same period of time, everybody. But then, in the 1980s, America got a little lazy. Still doing well, they moved away from people, having mastered people. I can't emphasize that enough. Mastered them. And moved on to robots, a field that really hadn't been explored as well. And, it's okay. Dick jokes are fun, I guess. But Japan, they had a thought. They decided that they could really niche into something that they do better than anyone else. And of course, by that, I'd like to refer to 1980s Akira, which, it's still not as good as Gen 1 Transformers, but they figured out that they could specialize in the one thing children across the world need, body horror. And so then we get to the 1990s, and this is where America just gave up. They didn't do well with robots. That was a mistake. So they thought, you know what, we can do body horror too. And so they came out with the cult classic Street Sharks, which, aside from being a drama about teenage disfigurement and weird hormonal tendencies, was honestly a ripoff of Hamlet that answered the age-old question, if you put a shark on a skateboard and that skateboard stops, will the shark die? By comparison, you have the classic 1990s Ghost in the Shell, honestly the pinnacle of just blatant body horror for children and adults. And it really also introduced a new concept to America that we really haven't gotten over, which is, am I attracted to my vacuum cleaner?
You shouldn't be.
Now, there is one thing I'm forgetting, of course, which was something that Japan did to really seal the deal, and that would be the 1988 Christmas comedy classic, Graveyard of the Fireflies. This wonderful story about two young people in love meeting at a PG&E office party really took the world by storm. Roger Ebert, who was a difficult critic, even stated that the emotions expressed and the fluidity of fire really brought the world together and might have ended the Cold War by scaring us with fire. Now, once you get to the 1990s, Funimation, realizing that America would accept street sharks as an interesting take on anything, realized that they had a way to bring anime back to America. So they wiped off the Cheeto stains, closed all their incognito windows, chugged a lot of Mountain Dew, and started repackaging the pirated, bad Sailor Moon fan dubs.
Now, in order to really bring anime to America, Japan had to do a lot of work to sterilize it because, again, they're into fucking body horror. And the closest we got were some mutated sharks. So in order to do that, Japan had to do some things like replace rice, which in Japan is a food staple, but in America is what Santa gives you when you've been naughty. They also had to replace instances of hell, because the only people who should be allowed to teach you about hell are your priest and the kid who picks on you in middle school. So they replaced it with things like the Shadow Realm, or the Home for Infinite Losers, or the Negaverse. Now I know what you're saying, these are other dubbing companies, I'm not just talking about Funimation. I am. 4Kids, ADV, DEEK, all of them are under Funimation. What happened was Funimation created all of those other dubbing companies as false flag companies to give everyone the illusion of competition. That way no one wanted to enter the market because it looked full. So it worked out for them. What else did they do? Oh yeah, they invented memes. They decided the best way to make their anime popular was to come up with jokes that people wanted to share in video form. And in order to do that, people would have to invent YouTube, or at least YTMND. So thanks to Funimation, we also have YouTube, and memes, and humor. Now, of course, in their pursuit to translate anime to America, they made some changes that were also not so good. Now, you might be thinking of changing the OPs to things like hip-hop or removing darker themes, but really the serious problem was that they replaced cigarettes with lollipops. Lollipops are garbage candy. They give that out at dentist offices. Okay? If they wanted to make... Oh, yeah. If they really wanted to make One Piece safe, they would have put clothes on Nami. Otherwise, this is just garbage. I mean, come on, smoking's super cool. We all have the cool uncle who smokes. You've met him, that's the only reason he's cool. The other problem they had, of course, was they fixed E.T. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. They went over E.T. and went, let's remove all the guns. Because kids shouldn't be exposed to guns, unless, I don't know, it's in some movie that's not E.T. And here's the problem. When I was a kid, and I'm sure when all of you were kids, you were, of course, taught if you see an alien, shoot it. And if you see some kids with the alien, you should shoot those kids too. Because you don't know what germs they're carrying. And if you let that alien call home, more aliens are going to come and steal all our jobs. The final issue, of course, was that they, I know I said they invented comedy with the meme, but they also killed comedy with this fucking joke. Frying pan, more like drying pan, more like kill me. So after they, sterilized anime for American audiences, they needed some sort of vessel to bring it to us. Because, as we all know, Americans are very leery of Japanese technology. So they did what Nintendo did and, added a robot to it. Worked for the NES, might as well work for anime. So they created Toonami, and they sailed that spaceship right into our hearts with joy. And from there, we got all of the great 90s anime, which to this date hasn't been topped. So now we're going to talk about the greatest anime of the 90s, when anime was at its peak.
Now, I know what you're thinking. He's going to talk about DBZ. But you would be wrong. The greatest anime of the 1990s was the slice-of-life comedy Neon Genesis Evangelion, which originally translated was Gospel of the New Century, which, is a really good way to say we're going to talk about robots. To briefly summarize the plot of this wacky little comedy, it's about a boy with clear manic depression and abandonment issues, his mother/robot work vehicle, and his absentees and also genocidal father as they get into hijinks at their office place, which is Nerve. Or, to put it another way, what the Canadian flag would look like if it became a fascist superpower. Now, to really dive into why this brought anime back into America in the 1990s, we're going to go into the lore and the history and really flesh out the plot. Fuck no. If you don't know what Evangelion is by now, I really can't help you. My best suggestion is to do what the rest of us did, which is marathon the whole goddamn thing in under 12 hours, watch the end of Evangelion movie, skip the clip show, deal with the 24 hours of depression and suicidal thoughts that follow, and then go on to Wikipedia to figure out what the fuck you just watched. But to really focus in on why it was important for America, you see, most critics will say that it was a deconstruction of the mecha anime genre and it dealt with issues such as mental health. But considering Gundam is still a thing and it's just been replicated over and over again, it clearly failed at that. So what it really did was it gave 1990s Bill Clinton America what it wanted most. Wild and vague conspiracy theories that really don't go anywhere, and when they do, you're really unhappy. Conflated and unearned religious iconography, because you know what makes sci-fi better? Jesus. And constant family melodrama and sexual tension, because they won't just bring up incest, but you get the feeling they wanted to go there, and that makes you uncomfortable just the whole time. And finally, a fantastical end-of-world extinction event that looks like global warming, but isn't, and really resolved America's existential threat, which was the Soviet Union's collapsed. Oh God, we have to do everything now. But more important than that are the lessons it taught us. And these are three fundamental lessons that anime has really carried forward for just ever since. First, that daddy issues are the cornerstone of Western civilization. Everything you do, and everyone here knows that, is because you know your father's disappointed in you. Second, that it's still cheating on your wife if her soul is in your son's workplace vehicle. And third, you don't need to go to therapy or deal with mental health issues if you've got crippling social anxiety and loneliness. You just have to take away everybody's individuality and control everyone's souls like a god, because you don't have control issues.
Oh, that was some real cosmic horror. Nobody who wants it?
Oh, no. Please.
No, fuck you. Yeah, you can take it. Okay. Who can carry things? No one. Okay, so that was cool. I guess that was a fine anime, but I'm of course here to talk about the best anime. Let's be honest, it's Yu Yu Hakusho, which revolutionized storytelling through the invention of the tournament arc, something that never existed before. Yu Yu Hakusho was so cool. I remember staying up until 11 p.m. to watch it back when that was like a testament to being awesome and not just a normal night because I can't sleep because of my crippling depression. And, in addition to making my childhood worth it and inventing tournaments, which didn't exist beforehand, I really need to make sure we know that, it also revolutionized sex. Have you wondered why birth rates have gone down over the past 20 or so years? That's, of course, because of Yu Hakusho inventing the new technique called the spirit gun, which is all your parents do now. That's fucking weird, isn't it? You can't watch it the same way. So I'm going to do a brief plot synopsis of Yu Hakusho because it really deserves to be told, unlike Evangelion, which is weird shit for weird people. And yeah, don't watch it unless you're already sleep deprived. So they kill the character off about 2 minutes in, which kind of sucks, because I was really getting attached to him making fun of small children. But he got hit by a car, so he probably deserved that. So instead of, just having him be dead, they decided to have him go through some ordeals and become a better person. He was probably trained by Jackie Chan, the greatest man ever invented. And after this, he comes back to life, and he has to go fight some dudes and retrieve some cursed objects. This is where the show kind of starts figuring out what it is. It's going to be fights. After that, though, the show really starts coming into its own with the Genkai arc, where you have a series of trials followed by a tournament arc. After that, it kind of falls apart a little bit, and they have to climb a weird castle. And it's basically a squad strike as they go up the castle. But while he's doing the squad strike, the creator's really working on how tournament arc should look. So you get the Dark Tournament, which is the best tournament arc ever created. Prove me wrong. I firmly believe that a character can never develop as a person outside of a tournament arc. If you learn a lesson, but it's not involving fighting a little kid with magic yo-yos, you didn't learn a fucking lesson. And in fact, this style was so perfected that basically every fighting video game since has been a derivative of that, but very few have paid homage to it. But I think together we can really fix that.
Okay.
Another classic anime was Ranma 1/2.
Not Inuyasha, a feudal fairy tale for the PS1?
I'll take it. I'll take it. Oh, I have it. Yep.
Not him. Blue. Yeah, it's you.
Created by Rumiko Takahashi. It originally aired in 1989, but it didn't air in the Americas until the 90s, so it's a 90s anime. The great thing about Ranma 1/2 is that it's pioneered trans representation. It really hasn't been done well since, and so One Punch Man is a revolutionary action anime that's redefining how we view action choreography. And
One Punch Man is like 5 years old.
And that's not the 90s?
No.
So One Punch Man is trash anime for trash people, lollipops of anime. Ranma 1/2 is the greatest love story ever told. In fact, Shakespeare went back in time and, went forward in time and stole all the ideas from it when he was writing Romeo and Juliet. It really invented the love triangle, and it was so good that everything since has really just been derivatives of it. So I'm going to explain the greatest love story ever told to you. So first we have Ranma, and like Timmy, he fell down a well and now has the ability to transform between a boy and a girl depending on the temperature of water he is exposed to. It's important to remember that these are the same person. Next we have Akane Tendo, and Ranma and Akane's parents decided that they should be married because they're BFFs and you have to form your families that way. They have a mutual hate boner for each other because Akane thinks he's kind of a dick, and Ranma thinks she's not girly enough for him. Next we have Tatsuaki Kuno. Tatsuaki Kuno used to be all into that Akane action until he's one fateful day saw Ranma in her girl form, and he's far more interested in her. I mean, just look at her. She's adorable. He also wants to murder male Ranma because, like Shadi, he doesn't know. Next we have Kadachi Kuno. Kadachi Kuno is all into male Ranma because he saved her life one day or something like that. She's super creepy, and so Ranma's not interested in her at all. She also wants to murder female Ranma because, like Tatsuaki Kuno, she doesn't know. Next we have Ryoga. Ryoga has some sort of grudge match with Ranma, but Ranma doesn't really give a shit. And he's totally into Akane, but Akane kind of friend-zoned him because he's a disgusting pig. Next we have Shampoo. Shampoo, because of some weird cultural norms, has to marry any man that beats her in combat, much like rednecks. She also has to murder any girl that beats her in combat, so she of course wants to fuck male Ranma and is trying to murder female Ranma. She's also not above murdering any females in the area of Ranma, despite Ranma's relationship to them or their relationship with Ranma. Next we have Kukyo. Kukyo's Ranma's childhood friend, and they agreed to marry each other when they were 5, and she's taken that shit very seriously. Unlike Ranma, who just views her as a nice childhood friend, Kukyo, unlike other characters in Ranma, has a healthy relationship in that she is friends with Akane. She also gets in spats with Shampoo because Shampoo is DTF. Next we have Ranma's famous, most lecherous character, Brock. Now, Brock just wants to fuck every other character except Ryoga because he's a disgusting pig. Now, as you can see, this is a triangle. It's a triangle there, and don't look too closely at this. Now, this formula was so good that many other things tried to copy it in the future, like Tenchi Muyo, DBZ, the Brady Bunch, and of course Pokemon. So now we went over some of the best anime. We're going to have to skim over some honorable mentions, though, because obviously there was so much in the 90s that deserved coverage that we just couldn't fit in this panel. So there was, of course, Zoid's Chaotic Century, Zoid's New Century, Zoid's Trigun Century, Zoid's Pokemon Century, which, as we all know, is just a rip-off of Sesame Street. And, of course, the most gruesome and violent of them all, Zoid's Hamtaro Century. I personally remember the episode where Boss single-handedly dismembered Bijou, Cappy, Maxwell, my hams, little hamsters, big genocides. So now we've gone over some of the best, but none of them are really the best. The best anime, of course, prominently features characters such as Toru, but not that one. Characters such as Toru, but also not that one. Characters such as Ganondorf, yeah, that one. We are, of course, talking about Jackie Chan Adventures. Woo! Yeah. Jackie Chan Adventures, of course, follows the real-life adventures of noted archaeologist Jackie Chan as he goes around the world rescuing cursed objects and bringing them to museums, which is basically the plot of Indiana Jones, except they came up with it first. Now, we're trying to bring Jackie Chan Adventures back because it deserves a revive. And we've decided the only company dumb enough to work with us is Crunchyroll. So we started a Kickstarter. I know we're asking for a lot of money, $100 million for the trailer of the pilot. But not only are we going to have Tom Hanks voice Jackie Chan, but we are going to have him draw the entire trailer by hand. Because if you're good at one art, you're good at all art. Now, I know it's going to be a letdown going from Jackie Chan Adventures to modern anime, but we have to talk about modern anime. And the problem with modern anime is, you know, like American animation in the 70s, like, well, we hit the peak, so we don't have to try. Anime's done the same thing. And it's done the same thing to such an extent that they haven't even changed the shows they're making.
Now, prime example of new anime really just being old anime would be the new Evangelion movies. Now, this is a prime example of failing at something once and then deciding to apply the same goddamn things to the problem. With new Evangelion, they were pissed because Gundam still continued even though they deconstructed mecha anime and really ended the need to copy themselves over and over and over again. So they re-released Evangelion into a series of movies that suffer from the same problems. It's about a boy with extreme emotional distress, his mother who's weirdly his work vehicle, his father who's emotionally abusive and trying to end the world, and a series of bullshit conspiracies that are somehow more vague and confusing in the new rendition.
Next, we have Sword Art Online. Sword Art Online is what happens when you want to make a .hack, but instead you decided that there were too many varieties of weapons there, so you just went for swords. That's what they did. The Ghost in a Shell 2018 movie is really just chobits, and that the defining question of the narrative is, should you fuck the robot? The answer is no. It's always no. She's a robot. But I guess Ghost in a Shell has this side plot of fighting villains with cool gadgets, so I guess it's a little bit more like Kim Possible. You're not supposed to fuck either of them. Guys, she's 16. Stop doing that.
And finally, we have, of course, One Punch Man, which we all know is really just a Nickelodeon remake of Kenan and Kel. They couldn't afford the original actors anymore, so they just decided to animate them and insert monsters and stuff.
Okay, next we have My Hero Academia. I haven't actually seen it, but I have a pretty good idea of what's going on. This is some goddamn story about some goddamn kid who doesn't have any goddamn superpowers, who goes to a goddamn school full of goddamn kids who have goddamn superpowers, and he's prophesized to have goddamn superpowers, so midway through he gets goddamn superpowers, and uses those goddamn superpowers to save the goddamn world. Am I right?
That's absurd.
Kind of, I'll take it. So it's just like Sky High Trampoline Park. I mean Sky High. Which, as we all know, is about some goddamn kid who doesn't have any goddamn superpowers, but is supposed to have some goddamn superpowers, so he goes to a goddamn high school for goddamn kids who have goddamn superpowers. And then he gets goddamn superpowers midway through the goddamn series and uses those goddamn superpowers to save the goddamn world. The difference is this is better because it has Ramona Flowers in it. And know how you fucking nerds are about Ramona Flowers.
But it doesn't have a Torrid arc.
Yeah, I didn't say it was good. It's just better.
Next we have Steins Gate Zero. Now, Steins Gate Zero is just a ripoff of Steins Gate, which is really just a ripoff of Back to the Future. I mean, the CRT TV controlling the time machine is really just the DeLorean going 88 miles per hour. And the flux capacitor and the microwave time machine are the same fucking thing. I mean, they both involve bananas. And of course, Hohin Kyoma is just an anagram for Doc Brown. The writing is on the wall with this stuff. I really don't see why I have to explain it. Next, we're going to go over crap character tropes, because it wasn't enough for them to just, wholesale rip off entire series. They have to wholesale rip off entire characters. The first one is, of course, the inept male. That guy who doesn't fucking do anything. There's nothing special about him. He's just kind of there. And sometimes he's the main character, but always he's useless. Maybe a lot of girls are into him for some reason, even though he doesn't do anything to earn it or should have them. But he gets them. And then, the most important thing he can ever do is reluctantly pilot his mom as a robot. Next we have the old pervy guy. Now, you know the old pervy guy. He hits on all the 2D girls. He gropes the 2D girls. You know, what you want to be doing. But the problem is that you're 3D, and when you do these things in the 3D world, you get put on a list of sexual assaulters and Supreme Court judges. Weirdly, the same list. The other problem is that the old pervy guy has an obsession with used undergarments. Guys, this is a serious sanitation problem. That's why they had to get rid of the vending machines in Japan. If you want to be a disgusting creep, you should really just go to Craigslist.
Now, next we have the boy genius character. This is pretty standard. It's the natural genius who's cool, really good at chess, and at some point is going to take over the world between the ages of 17 and 20. This character, if you look really close, much like our memories of high school, is really actually just the legacy kid of the anime genre. They wouldn't really succeed without a series of absurd plot armor devices that allowed them to get through life, including parents that are royalty or a father that's a philosopher's stone, a story world that's been so corrupted that only they can exploit it, and Deus Ex Machina being set to on at all times so that there are no consequences to their stupid decisions. Honestly, they'd be great Supreme Court justices. Now, when you actually look at these characters, I think we can all relate to them. They have poor social skills, their hygiene's poor, they have a hard time connecting with people, they focus on a few things and they will only talk about those few things. They might even give panels. And really, they don't really do a lot to try and get a job or hold any meaningful relationships. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you relate to this, what you should really do is change your last name to Bush.
Huh? I mean, I know you just want me to give you something, and I'm not going to do that. Oh, good. Get the fuck out then. Okay, so next we have the chosen idiot. A guy who was chosen to fucking fix the world or some shit, and they're obviously unqualified and not going to do it. So they can be chosen through a variety of methods, be it prophecy, birth, or other fucking idiots. But really what it comes down to is it's just this generic shonen hero who can't do anything right and has other people carry their ass for them until they save the world on accident, and they're boring, and I hate them, and Naruto sucks. Next we have the tsundere. Now the tsundere is the most ubiquitous character in all of anime. She can't really figure out how to deal with her feelings, so she expresses them through physical violence. And I'd like to take a quick aside real quick. If you are in a relationship with a tsundere, there's a hotline for you. You do not have to tolerate physical violence in a relationship. Now the problem with the tsundere is that she has kind of a 5-year-old's idea of what love is, much like the rest of you. And there are other deres to play with, guys. There's yandere, kudere, dandere, and you should really just never touch tsundere again because Akira Toriyama perfected it with Vegeta. So now that we've gone over shitty character tropes, we are of course going to go over shitty genres. I guess this is like the good thing because the shitty genres aren't necessarily the same as the characters. We've got whole new ways Japan has fucked us over. So first, we have mega arc shows. These are the shows that go way too long. Like someone just sits there, it's like, I want to have my guy fight this villain. Let's see how we can make that last 26 episodes. And they do it, and they do it again and again and again until they run out of ideas. And then they do a time skip and make all the girls' tits bigger. So then they can do the same thing with less clothes. It's awful. It's creatively bankrupt. Just like, I don't know, this panel.
Next we have mecha anime, which really is the genre that says fuck wheels. Now, with mecha anime, I honestly love this genre, as you can tell by my unnecessary emphasis on Evangelion and children piloting their mothers. Goodbye. But much like your mother who's gotten drunk at church a few too many times and has been kicked out because of starting fights with the priest, it needs a little bit of an intervention, and we should be honest about the two things it does over and over and over again. First of which is it poorly explains why the fuck do you need a giant robot to deal with something that a tank with a beam cannon could deal with? Usually the explanations include alien invasions, giant monsters, colonial rebellion, and of course the old chestnut and America's favorite, imperial expansion. Now, with all of these scenarios, I can see yourself thinking, but yeah, giant robots are cool. But again, fucking impractical. Now, one anime did come close to resolving this issue, and of course, that's the 1980s classic Robotech, which made America believe that singing was more important than writing. And they introduced something that a lot of animes have tried to rip off since, but, you know, I think is really the OG Titan, which are the Zentradi, which are people that are giants and can eat you. So, of course, our response is to build a giant fucking robot, and that's fine. But the other thing that Robotech did, which was very important, is it resolved the other impracticality, which is, when this robot has to fly, how the fuck are we going to make it fly? They introduced transforming into a jet, which makes sense. You have lift, it's light, etc. And they really saved audiences from the question I constantly ask myself when I watch Macross, Gundam, or anything else that's come out recently, which is, why the fuck does this jet have arms and legs? Now, the other problem, and the more serious problem, is that mecha anime as a genre is heavily reliant on the concept of child soldiers. Now, I want you to think this to yourself. If you are currently over the age of 18, How many people here are over the age of 18? Raise your hands. You all die in the first episode.
Yes!
You are
Finally!
18 and over, you are the fucking red shirt.
Who's the happiest about being dead?
That
Okay,
makes...
that guy. Here, have Hitalia.
Making your dream come true.
Also, congratulations, you're the conveniently wise admiral who dies before anybody makes a decision. And, of course, they've repeated this over and over and over again to the point that I really think they just want to watch kids murder each other, and, you know, that's what Slice of Life is for.
That's not how my Slice of Life panels are prepared. As a note, please heckle us. I have shit to give you if you heckle well.
You suck.
That sucks. Get the fuck out. Okay, so that's not heckling. That's being nice. Why would I ever...
Is Luigi
Oh, no.
talking to your son? Is Luigi talking to your son?
No, this is from Bowser's Inside Story. He's just kind of alive for some fucking reason. Okay, so a Slice of Life anime works is it's basically someone walked down the street and went, wow, this would make a great 20-episode series. Let me tell you about it. According to Wikipedia, Slice of Life is presented often lacking plot development, conflict, and exposition, and often having an open ending. So even Wikipedia agrees this shit's garbage. I mean, have you seen Lucky Star? The first episode is just people talking about how you eat candy for 10 minutes.
Has anyone seen Lucky Star? No.
Woo, I hate myself. Yeah, it was bad. Wait, whose club? Who had the club? Oh, here, okay. Here, have Outlaw Star. It'll make you feel better. Okay. No, that's actually good. Okay. So basically, Slice of Life comes down to just watching cute girls doing cute things. That's the whole fucking point of it. And if you want to watch girls doing stuff, there are way better things to watch them do, like order pizza or call a plumber.
Okay, you get Art Alive for the Sega Genesis. Because Seinfeld is art and he's still alive.
Next, we have Virtual World Anime. Virtual World Anime is what you get when you have a light novel writer who can't think of their own world, so they just put their story in whatever game they happen to be into at the time. There are, of course, too creatively bankrupt to think of a version of this world where their video game is actually real, so they end up with a sort of fakeception situation where you have a fictional story about people playing video games. Okay, I thought it was out. Sorry.
Inside a fictional world.
It's sort of the Let's Play of anime. Guys, you realize you can play video games, right?
Since when?
Also, check out my Let's Play channel. I need subscribers. Because this is some self-insertion nonsense, like you, the character is an otaku loner, but unlike you, they're magically good at everything and can get any girl they want. So you end up with a sort of roving sex god who can get girls by quoting their encyclopedic knowledge of DBZ.
That's my fetish!
The other problem with Virtual World Anime is the uncreative weapons. They're all swords boys. You know, you obviously have Kirito from Sword Art Online, Kirito from Ragnarok, Kirito from Overlord, and of course, Kirito from that one time I got reincarnated as Kirito.
That one's not a virtual world. That one's an isekai.
That one's deep.
Don't correct me. Don't correct me.
Huh?
We're the panelists. Everything we say is right for the next hour. Reality is our design. Right, Stan? Yeah, he's our Breitbart. Guys, literally the only virtual world up there is Sword Art Online.
Yes. The rest are just different dimensions.
Yeah, now don't correct me anymore.
Don't correct them. They're not allowed to be correct.
But guys,
No, you're not allowed to be correct.
you know axes exist, right? Or like a bow and arrow. Like, get crazy with it. Use a gun or something. What are we doing?
Season 2 actually
Stop correcting me! What are you doing?
The real problem is that you watched Sword Art Online Season 2. You can get the fuck out.
stay out.
I thought you're not tired to stay out because you said that. Oh, dang.
Now, the genre that's the most shit show, of course, is the vampire genre, really the sickle cell anemia of anime. And by the way, I want to reiterate, what we say is correct for canon in this panel, because what I'm about to say is groundbreaking. All vampire anime is derivative of the first magazine from AARP. Bear with me. Almost every vampire anime centers around a senior citizen who has cannibalistic serial killing tendencies, commits sexual assault of some kind, or is at least very creepy at least once an episode, and keeps people as slaves. Now, that is a very AARP thing to do, but the vampire genre takes it in a different direction because they learned, or actually invented, what I call the HBO True Blood technique. And that is, we'll take the serial killer, we'll make him look young, we'll make you attracted to him, and that'll suddenly make everything he's doing okay.
Next, we have what is objectively the least realistic anime genre ever pioneered, and that is, of course, harems. Because when it comes down to it, when have 5 girls ever wanted to fuck you? That's never going to happen. This is what a real harem anime looks like, or a real harem. Yeah, 6 guys after 1 girl. Maybe you're dating her, and then like all of these other guys who are into her tell her to break up with you, so she does, and then she realizes they're all into her, so she feels bad, and she says that she still wants to make it work, so she strings you along for several months, making you do several things you're uncomfortable with before dumping you for one of your trivia regulars. At which point you move to Denver for several months to get away from the whole thing, and then come back and realize she hosts at your old trivia venue. And basically, she's not the best girl. No, don't touch me. But really what I'm saying is she's not the best girl. And that's the problem with harem anime is everyone gets in these weird arguments about the best girl, and they have these really intricate maps trying to figure out who they are. It's Big the Cat. Come on, it's Big the Cat. Why would you pick anyone else there? Because Vegeta's the best tsundere, you fucking idiot. Except, of course, for Sarah from The Land Before Time. And whatever the fuck her name is from Higurashi. And, yeah, she's quite a tsundere. She really messes with your emotions. So I'm going to give you a crash course on best girls, so you know like the history of best girls and can use that information to better make the decision in the future. On the off chance there's more than one person interested in you, though let's be honest, 1 is even too many. So as any history lesson goes, I have to use U.S. presidents because as we all know, history didn't exist before the United States. So first we have Ronald Reagan. He picked the best girl with Gorbachev. This is them on a nice romantic weekend. This is actually what the movie Brokeback Mountain is based off of. Don't let the religious right know Reagan is gay. They still regularly fellate him. Next, we have George H.W. Bush. He did not pick the best girl in Saddam Hussein. He kind of invaded his national sovereignty, and it didn't go well. Next, we have Bill Clinton, who Hillary is pretty fine, but he went for an intern, just some nameless intern, who, as we all know, never was important again. Next, we had George W. Bush. He went for some graduate-level shit and also went for Saddam Hussein. Not the best girl, also didn't end particularly well for Saddam Hussein. George Bush got all up in that oil. Next, we have Obama. Obama did actually make the best girl pick in Joe Biden, because what more do you need in a romantic partner than someone who's fanatically obsessed with trains and ice cream? Nothing. Huh? Wait, what? Okay, no one said anything. Y'all suck. Okay. Next we have Trump. And he hasn't really settled on who his best girl is yet, but the 2 leading contenders are both terrible for us. They're, of course, Little Rocket Man and shirtless KGB agent who is likely going to poison me as soon as I leave this building.
Why not both?
Huh?
Yeah.
Why not both?
Let's make another harem out of it.
I mean, he's okay with that.
Rocket Man's bang.
You're missing Duterte. Come on.
Yeah, I'm missing Duterte, I'm missing Alex Jones, I'm missing Breitbart. There's a lot of people that could be on here. These 2 are just the easiest jokes, and no one can... Here, you get Wolves Reign Volume 2. Volume 1's still up for grabs. You have to try hard for that shit. I didn't put Ivanka on because if that happened, Mike Pence would leave him. And while Mike Pence isn't the best girl, he's all he's got. Okay, so now that we've gone over how anime is awful, we're going to talk about why... Oh, no. You told me I was done, Sam. Okay, we're not done. This is another subgenre of harem, which is, of course, pedo bait, where they go out of their way to explain why it's okay to fuck the 12-year-old. Which it's not. Just because she's a 1,000-year-old vampire and you're a 20-year-old photographer, that's not okay. She's still a 12-year-old. Moonface sucks. Okay, so now we've gone over why how anime is bad, so we're going to talk about why anime is bad, or at least some theories. So Sam has our first theory. Sam, why is anime bad? Okay, so you might be thinking anime is going to be good again because Tom's back, but I'd like to show you that that's not Tom. This is Tom. The real Tom died for us in 2003 fighting Shendu with Jackie Chan. He died for us, guys, which makes this all the more horrible that they replaced him with Optimus Prime. You see, Michael Bay has made a career of ruining childhoods. He first went after the silent generation with Pearl Harbor. And then he went after the Gen X's with Transformers. And our anime is next on his chopping block. No. Okay, so my theory is that music sucks these days. Because Rolling Stones perfected music. Can we all agree on that? There was one genre, it was classic rock, and Rolling Stones knocked it out of the fucking park. Yeah. And now, because, I don't know, people still want to make music for some goddamn reason, they have to try to innovate in some dumb way, so you get this web of whatever the fuck genres that is. And anime kind of did the same thing, where now it's a million different genres, and no one really knows how to do any of them, because they're all terrible, so all anime is bad. Because, there was, at one point, one genre, and it was, of course, tournament arcs, which was perfected by Jackie Chan Adventures, just like Rolling Stones perfected music. So really what I'm saying is just stop making anime, because we've already hit the peak, and there's nothing that can be done.
Yeah, I thought Yu Yu Hakusho perfected the tournament arc.
No. Yu Yu Hakusho invented it. Jackie Chan Adventures perfected it. But since your comment was shit, you get Pac-Man for the Atari 2600.
You have a question?
Why do you consider all anime bad?
I reiterate, this is the panel's canon. We didn't say it was reality. It's reality right now. It's momentary reality.
Lack of commitment to character.
All anime is shit. Everything created after 2000 deserves to go in a garbage fire just like you.
I agree with you on that one.
But Goblin Slayer's amazing.
Stan, get the fuck out.
No.
Now, the next theory for why all anime is a dumpster fire and Goblin Slayer's a thing would be that Deep State killed anime. Now, this is a complicated theory with lots of moving parts and totally doesn't involve a tinfoil hat, but it starts with vaccines. As we know, creativity thrives best when only the chosen idiots and randomly OP characters survive. So if you're preventing everybody from dying of measles, you get a lot of, weak people surviving through the generations. Now, this got worse because of Lyndon Johnson. Now, a lot of people remember Lyndon Johnson for Vietnam. Not a war he started, but certainly a war he continued. But that was really just a cover. What Lyndon Johnson didn't want the media to know is that he was secretly trying to make sure that even more weak, mediocre people survived with great society, which again was designed to kill all of creativity. This then, of course, led to George Soros, who's funding net neutrality because if more people are talking online with each other, then they won't have to actually have ideas, which eventually somehow led to the end of the Cold War because of time travel. And eventually led to Netflix, which is the nostalgia bait that's actually killing anime.
So now we've gone over why anime is bad. So we're going to try to talk about how to fix it, but of course we can't because I lost the receipt. I'm sorry, guys. You shouldn't have trusted me with that thing. When you return something like this, the return policy kind of requires a receipt. See, we're sort of like in the accretion disk. If we were in the accretion disk, I always fuck that up, we'd be fine, or at least we could, get out. But we're straight in the fucking singularity. And we've been there for a while because everything's garbage. And you keep this in front of me. So in order to fix that, we can't, but we can improve ourselves as people and at least be worthy of the anime we had. And the first way to do that is to get rid of this shit. We don't need fandoms. We can blame the internet for that. Basically, before the internet, if you had some weird thing that you were into, it was really hard to find someone else who was into that weird thing, so you just weren't into it anymore. But, yeah, there wasn't a lot of those.
Or sit alone in your basement and cry.
That's a good plan. I recommend playing Roadrunner's Death Valley for the SNES. Which was somehow my first SNES game. I don't know how that worked out. I already gave you something. Shut the fuck up. I still don't believe you're 20. You're like 4. Okay. So basically with the advent of the internet, there was more interconnectivity. So suddenly if you were into something really weird, like, I don't know, reverse trap or white nationalism, you had a community for that. And within that community, you could escape and you could talk about it and you could find people with similar fucked up interests. And as you descended in that rabbit hole of fandom and community, you began to embrace it as your own identity. And as a side note, Faygo's disgusting, don't drink Faygo. They literally use sugar and artificial sweetener, so you get that great cough syrup aftertaste. In soda, it is almost as bad as their music. So once you adopt the fandom as your identity, you start doing shit like this, cosplaying as Deadpool at conventions. Now I know what you're saying. They're totally in character all the time. I don't give a shit. Deadpool cosplayers are fucking annoying and need to stop. Leave me alone. You're the worst. If you're going to dress as Bob Ross and walk around as Deadpool, because I know there's one guy doing that, that's fine. But just, stop going up behind me and being like, I named Luigi. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk to people. So, once... Huh? Oh, no, I'm talking at you. There's a difference.
You can always end cosplaying. That's confusing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, and then once you're in these fandoms, you might start getting exposed to stuff or really odd texts. So, some fandoms are really bad. They indoctrinate millions of young people with ridiculous ideology, can make their author exceptionally wealthy and grant them excessive power and social influence. Some of them, even though old, still have followers to this day for no good reason. They're often read by people who self-identify as Grand Wizards. Fans occasionally dress up as ghosts. I am, of course, talking about Harry Potter. The most toxic of them all. Because I swear to God, if I see one more Tinder profile where they say they're Hufflepuff, I'm going to lose my goddamn shit.
Luigi's right here.
No, Stan, I thought you were cool. So after that, after you just really bleed into that fandom, and you've churned through all of the content the creator has made, you start making your own shit up, and this happens.
Now, shipping is a really important concept for the fundamentals of the global economy. When you have a product and you need to get it across the globe, you need some form of transport device to get it through customs. You're not talking about that, are you?
I'm talking about this one.
Oh, so this is a grotesque, disgusting thing people really need to stop doing. If the writers haven't put the two characters together, please don't make porn fanfics about it.
Follow me on Am3, eliminate
Shipping is dead. Stop doing it. It's making everything worse.
No, me. Okay, so let's see, what do we have next? Cool. So after you do that, you bleed into the fandom super hard. You decide that you're going to start telling people that they can't be a part of it, so you start gatekeeping. That's when, I don't know, you give an hour-long shit post about how 5th gen isn't Pokemon, and if you like 5th gen, you're not into Pokemon. Or you talk about how modern anime is trash and everyone who watches it a loser. Gatekeeping's bad. The worst offense, of course, is whenever a girl tells you they're a nerd and your first idea is to start quizzing them on nerd shit. Don't do that. Girls can be nerds. Just because there weren't any in the cartoons you watched growing up doesn't mean they're not real. There are girls here. Huh?
Girls are real?
Yeah, that's the perfect comment of someone who likes Sonic the Hedgehog. There you fucking... Oh, I gave you something. Yeah, I would...
Girls are real?
So then, once you've just, crawled up into your own ass, you're just disgusting, and the next thing you need to do is take a shower. Please take a shower. And after you take your shower, you have to really take steps to welcome yourself into the real world, which starts with divorcing your waifu. Listen, guys, raise a hand.
He's a national treasure, all right?
How many people came here to buy a body pillow of their wife? It's okay, I won't judge you.
He specifically went Saturday to buy one.
Okay, what the fuck are you doing?
Thanks for ratting him out. Have Wolves Reign Volume 1.
Yeah!
Why didn't the champion say anime blockers?
I don't even read. Let's go.
Wait.
That's perfect. He's the ideal fan of anime, because that means he only watches dubs. And as we all know, subs are garbage. By the way, this goes for your husbando buyers, too. Guys, that's an Amazon purchase, okay? You really want to go to a public place where you can be seen and talk to the clerk and go, hey, yes, I would like the body pillow with the big old bitties on it. Yes, I want people to know that I'm purchasing this.
That's why people wear cosplay.
Yeah, you're still recognizable. So, what I'm hearing is a lot of you are defending doing shit like this. And this kind of shit is exactly who's the most mortified by this? That's too many of you. I'm not giving any of you anything. Okay, so basically, don't do shit like this. It's wrong. It's bad. You're ruining not only anime, but America and humanity. I honestly can't wait until E.T. shows up and we took all of the walkie-talkies away so he can just wreck our shit. So, I'm going to give some preemptive arguments against us. I'm going to preempt your arguments against us. First of all, are we nostalgia tripping fucking Delaware 90s kids? Next, are we serious? Of course we are. We put a lot of work into this. If we weren't serious...
My name wouldn't be Sam.
His name wouldn't be Sam.
It's not.
So, you can follow us on Twitter at 5th Gen, not PKMN. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I'll cry. Oh, so that's just a normal day for me. Huh? No, I'm good at that. It's my hobby. You can follow us on YouTube. 5th Gen is not Pokemon. I occasionally upload these panels onto YouTube. So if you want to watch it again to relive your emotional abuse, you can do that. Along with most other panels we've given her on there. Otherwise, done. So if you have like questions or shit, that's pretty cool. If you have questions, what do you want?
Why the fuck's your mustache green?
Because I lost my black marker last time I drew the mustache. So here, you can have a Bart Simpson versus the World NES game.
Get the thing broccoli.
All I had were black Sharpies, and I thought that'd be a bad idea.
Why? You'd actually be manly.
Huh?
Wait, I thought it was like asparagus.
What the fuck do you want?
Oh, is Luigi your favorite Pokemon?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay.
But at least he's not 5th Gen, so that's pretty good. What did you do?
Throw this at him.
No, that might actually hurt him. Do it.
You Sharpie.
Phone.
Permanent manliness.
Huh? Oh, thank you. You can have this empty box. Oh wait, there's slime. Come on, come over here. You get the last thing. I stole it from Stan because all of his prizes were shit.
I need you to throw it at him for me. Just
Not in the case. Take it out first.
Come on.
Thumbs up, person. What the fuck do you want? Oh, you're just agreeing. Okay, cool. Oh, I guess we won. No one has questions. We proved our fucking points.
Or we did really poorly and they're going to kill us after.
Agreed.
Well, Putin's already after us, so I don't think it matters. We'll see who gets to us first.
I'm an omnivore. Omnivore meat is gross.
Maybe Donald Trump and Harlem.
Oh, God, I would love to be his best girl. Bart guy.
What's your opinion in the Devilman Crybaby series? Donald Trump is now officially an anime character. What do you think about that?
He
was an anime character before that.
He's always been an anime character. I mean, he's Okumaru in Persona 5, and that's anime, so...
Guys, if we're going to talk about Donald Trump being an anime character, nothing can surpass his original appearance in Richie Rich, the best anime.
Or as a cartoon character as Montana Max. What else we got? Oh, y'all suck. Okay. Cool, we're done, so you can leave. Or whatever you want. But follow us on Twitter. Otherwise, I can't insult you adequately. We might even make normal content now. It'll be weird. So thank you for coming. I hope you had fun at this convention. I had fun verbally abusing you for the 4 hours. Because, God, why did they give me so many panels? Shut up, Stan. No one likes you.